Hey, I've got a nut joke to start off with, if you like.
What's your nut joke?
So, what's the difference between a snowman and a snow woman?
I don't know.
Snowballs.
No. I was going to say position of the carrot, but...
No. Why, is the snowman's carrot in her crunch?
Press start.
This is episode 190, and we are at the EB Games Expo for 2000. No, we're not.
We kind of are.
We
Well,
were.
We are.
This is the
This
debrief.
is all-encompassing.
Okay.
Debrief.
Well, that'll do. EB Expo for 2017, and this is a special episode. And today is Sunday, the 8th of October 2017, and I am Lucas. And here with me today is Snoogs. How are you, man?
Good, mates. Long weekend. Well, we're taking a long weekend.
Yeah.
Not an official one, but
We made it out.
Good weekend on the Goldie.
Absolutely.
Yet to
Also,
see Meter made though.
I didn't see a meter made either.
No,
I think
shocking.
it's a myth. It's what
Myth.
Queenslanders tell us to make us feel jealous.
Make us get up here.
That's right. Well, it worked halfway. All right, also with us here is Rappermere. How are you, mate?
G'day. I'm doing all right.
Lovely. Enjoying those beers.
Mm-hmm.
How many have you had so far today?
3.
3. Wow, I only saw 1.5 of them. Usually mashing them. Also with us we have Ramutha. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Thank you for joining us this weekend. And also, last but not least, Greggio. How are you, man?
Yeah, good. Definitely not least, but yeah, I'm good.
That's right. It's good to have you on the podcast this week without any sort of internet issues in the background.
No internet issues and actually invited.
Hey, you are welcome anytime. You're good for a laugh, my friend. All right, so this week's show is going to throw the usual schedule aside, and we'll be discussing our experiences with the EB Games Expo for 2017 here on the Gold Coast. All right, so let's start off, and we'll, first of all, Snoogs, Rappermere, and myself, we drove here from Sydney. It was a, I don't know, what 12-hour experience?
Yeah, just over 11 really.
Yeah,
That we were on the road. So
and
it was very easy drive though. It's not like we were pushing it through at all.
I was cruising, and you drove the entire way, you nutter.
Nah, that's what I do.
Bastard.
I know, I'm like,
That's true.
That's just kind of what we do.
yeah,
Yeah.
good work. Yeah, I'm like, oh, do you want to swap drivers? And I'm like, oh, I'm still good for a bit.
Oh, we're in Queensland. Fuck
And
it.
we're here.
You should say,
Do you wanna swap now?
if me and Snoogs have to go up together, it's literally, do you want to rest? I'll drive. No, I'm good. No, you need to rest. You need to rest. I need to drive, is probably what I'm saying.
You're screwed. No, he did well. Very good. And yeah, we had a few live streams along the way, which was really cool. We had a few people jumping in on the live streams, playing some games with us, and
A few very concerning discussions.
there was some concerning discussions.
Ones that
Coffee.
ones that weren't seen on the live streams. Probably a good idea that they were not seen on the live streams. 'Cause
Yeah, well,
I actually
might
watched
be
back
arrested
that
or committed.
Episode 1, and cheese coffee. The introduction of cheese coffee was actually on there.
oh, was it?
It was.
Oh, about stirring it and all that
Yes,
sort of stuff.
stirring.
Okay, so it was very obvious what
It
we
was
were
very
talking
obvious
about.
what we were talking. Just people came in late.
So, yeah.
That's right, yeah, so they missed out. Look, if anybody, one of the biggest topics when we were driving up was the notion of cheese-flavoured coffee. And although it sounds strange, it does come from a real weird
Strange.
Origin.
It's
came
worse
from
than
my
strange.
yes, it's just flat out wrong.
Well, it is, yeah. But
Really?
if you want to know exactly where that came from, then go and listen to the live stream. If
Yes,
not,
because it's one of those things that should not be repeated.
yeah, I'm not going to go into it now.
No, we'll just,
But the funny thing is, there was one of our viewers that watched that and probably didn't catch the beginning of why we were talking about cheese coffee, and actually gave us a link to a video on cheese flavoured tea.
Yes.
Yummy.
So that exists anyway. Not necessarily coffee, but it was like a cream cheese topped cup of tea.
Was the wrong cheese though?
I almost had one of those this morning.
Yes, I saw the milk that you
My lovely sour
You probably
milk.
should explain that.
You probably should, because I've got... What?
Yeah.
No, I didn't stir her tea.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. I did see that picture of your milk from your hotel room. Was
Yeah.
it off milk or was it frozen?
It was well off. Well and truly off. I don't know
wasn't,
how
it
long.
wasn't off, it was just Miracle Whip now.
Yogurt.
It's cool
It was
whip.
something, but it definitely wasn't milk.
Ricotta.
It's cool whip.
Bit of ricotta for your tea.
Yeah, lovely.
Wow, that's gross.
Chunky.
Yeah. You
Anyway.
can't pour it, you gotta scoop it.
They
So
must have
chunky you can
the
carve.
power out or something in there, and they just didn't bother changing any of the stuff.
But it
Yeah,
was,
it's gross.
wouldn't it have been long life milk?
It
Yeah,
was.
it was.
And it was in the fridge, and I don't know
it
who
was
put it in the
sealed.
fridge, but housekeeping did not take it
But
out.
if long life milk gets cooled and then warmed up and then cooled again, it does curdle.
I thought that
Yeah.
was only if you opened it.
No,
It
it's
wasn't
not really for
open,
opening.
but you know, maybe they had a power out and just.
I've probably had a few suspect coffees then. Maybe I have had cheese coffee. Well, yogurt coffee anyway. Anyway, we're getting a little bit off topic here. Let's get going. And we'll talk.
How was your trip up, mate? It's your first
It was
driving trip up this way?
I've never been in a car that long before. I've never done a drive that long, and I've got to say, your driving is immaculate as always.
Well, I have all my pieces, so we're good.
Yeah, we got
Just driving to local events with my wife driving freaks me out. But I never had any of those moments with you.
No, it's all right then.
Man can drive.
I
Uber
agree.
as a second career?
Got to get home. Yet.
We do have to get home. Yeah, that's only part A of the trip. But yeah, going home tomorrow, which is sad. But no, it was good. It was a good experience. I saw the big banana.
You got to do it. I don't know how much longer it's going to be before they bypass coughs as well. So you got to do it while it's still there.
Yeah, and it's a big banana.
Yeah.
And I walked into you can walk inside the big banana.
You saw the bloke in there with the trench coat and thick underwear. Yeah,
That was you.
that wasn't me. I didn't have any underwear on at that stage.
Right. Yeah,
That's why
so
you
the,
drive so good.
It's not brown underwear, it's just hair.
beside the big banana, inside the big banana was it looked like a VHS was playing, telling about the
How
history,
it got so big.
Bananas,
history of a banana.
Yeah.
the history of the banana.
Yeah.
And how that they're straight when they come off the trees down there. They send them up to Queensland to bend them. Send them back.
I was kind of expecting, because it was like dark and scary inside the banana. I was kind of expecting it to smell more like urine,
Coffs Harbour,
but I'm not.
not Western Sydney.
Yeah, I'm not in Western Sydney anymore. I guess
I think it's a place where bums hang.
it just had that feeling.
There's the yellow paint. Just conjured up in images.
It's like like bugs fly to bright things. They might have have the same sort of effect on bums. I don't know.
Science by Lucas. Bums flock to giant bananas.
Because they're brightly coloured yellow. Well,
I think we're straight off track again.
we did. But anyway.
What's the track again?
All right, so we are talking about the EB Games Expo, I think, in this podcast. So let's move on to that. And let's talk about the location, because it originally started in 2011 with the EB Games Expo here in Queensland at the Gold Coast. And then for whatever reason, I don't know, it was, after its first year here, moved across to Sydney. And then for the next, I don't know, what is it, 4 or 5 years or whatever,
Something like that,
went on, where it was all in Sydney. And then, while we think that it did start to sort of decline in interest and popularity in Sydney, I think that's probably why it moved back to the Gold Coast. But what do you guys think of it being on the Gold Coast this year, after having at least gone once in Sydney?
I really enjoyed it.
You like it?
I liked it. It was a chance to get somewhere different, for starters, and then it was just an entirely different atmosphere this time around. In Sydney, it began to get to the point where it was just packed, and it was like they were just trying to get people in and out. And in Gold Coast, you were free to move around. You had decent space between you and the next person, and you could go and actually see sights. rather than trying to look over tall people and all that sort of stuff.
Did you go to the same expo?
I was about to ask the same question because this morning was really, really packed.
It was packed.
Yeah, like shoulder to shoulder.
Nowhere near what Sydney would have been.
Oh, but see, you went last year, right?
Yeah, I've been
Last
to every
year
year since
there
I went
was
to Sydney.
very little going on. There wasn't that many people.
Yeah, and
And
there
it
also wasn't that many things to go and see.
It was very open. There was a lot of space. But this year, and we're talking to
Steve.
From
Bandai, yeah.
from Bandai, and I think he nailed it on the head. I think that the location where it is this year,
Well, it's about half the size of the.
it gave the illusion that it was more packed
Yeah.
because it's smaller.
It's narrower and longer.
Yeah, and all of the booths are very close together, so there's very little walking room. And where there's a lot of people lining up waiting for games, it encroaches on walking space, so it was just hard to get around. But you're saying that you could move freely.
I could move here. There was only
Do you have a
once or
shrink ray
twice.
that we don't know about?
There was only once or twice that I ever stopped to wait for somebody to move.
That's because you're a rude prick and you just walk through them.
To be fair, I would suggest that
Out me way, me
You know
one
what?
snoo.
To be fair, there's a perfectly good reason for that. You're not in Sydney. In Sydney, it's a completely different atmosphere up here.
Yeah, that's what
In Sydney, everyone is very hustle and bustle, rush. No, I'm more important than everyone else. And up here, it just seems to be a lot more relaxed. And even though it was like, for me, I found it to be. You could tell it was a lot smaller venue. You could tell everyone was more packed in. You just have to look and you take into account, between Sony and Ubisoft last year. They were on both different sides of the expo hall, and there was a good 10 to 15 metres between them. Here there was 4 or 5, between either side of the thing. There wasn't much room. So,
Well, there was about 10 to 15 because Wolfenstein that was in between it all.
I'm just sure
That was-
the distance from
I
side to
felt
side.
it still was the same distance between certain things. It was just
look, I
there was
think
nobody bunched out to the edges of the convention center and all that sort of stuff. Everybody was in the middle, and it just
I have to agree with you on Saturday. Saturday was a lot calmer, and I don't remember hustling and bustling. Like I said, we went to Nintendo,
Yeah,
and we waited for one person.
and jumped straight on.
Whereas this morning, Nintendo was lined up out the freaking door.
Yeah, but there seemed to be a lot younger crowd today.
yes.
Yeah, I think there was a lot
It
more
was more of a
families. It
family
was
day.
Sunday.
Yeah,
there was
family
heaps more
day.
families.
Yeah.
I think there was just more people at once.
I
Yeah.
think with that, a lot of people got the idea that Sunday is a quieter day, so they should go on the Sunday.
Possible.
And then because so many people have gotten that same idea, it became the busy day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also on top of that, which compounds as well, is Sunday is generally the day when most parents would have off. So a lot of people work Saturdays these days.
Yeah.
So I'm off on Sunday, I'll take little Jimmy to the expo, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that also goes on top of the theory that people are thinking it's the quieter day and it ends up being pandemonium.
Yeah.
And there was posts on Facebook that I saw where people were condemning the show based on how busy it was, saying, because I thought the $50 entrance fee was reasonable.
That was really
I
good.
thought it was good. But then the point was raised that it was an absolute joke because of how long it was to line up to get
Yeah.
to things and how hard it was.
There would have been a lot longer to line up for certain things, but that was in Sydney as well. It was broken up. One, it was over 3 days, not 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And secondly, on those, Friday had 2 or 3 sessions. So morning, afternoon,
There were only ever two.
Yeah, they're all
the
split.
daylight and twilight.
daylight and twilight
Sessions,
sessions
yeah.
for.
That's what I liked about this is they didn't segregate the two different sessions, so it wasn't just a massive bum rush to get to the thing you wanted to play.
You didn't have 4 hours to try and cram everything in.
Yeah, you could spend the whole day there. So even though it seemed as though there was, it was a lot more people there, there seemed to be a lot more packed in. I still didn't really have an issue with it. It was pretty well laid out. There's things you'd probably look at doing differently, and being that I dare say it'll be back on the Goldie next year, they'll learn from that and do things a little bit differently, and probably, petition certain people elsewhere and whatnot. But yeah, I think it's done pretty well actually.
Like, it's literally across the road from the middle of the Gold Coast. It is.
Yeah.
Everything is accessible there. If you want to go for a feed, quick feed, you just go across the road. You're not going to get ripped off by what we had in the Sydney one.
In Sydney, there's nothing around Homebush.
Yeah.
There's what they've got on show, and that's it. Here, you're across the road from Broad Beach. There's trams out the front. It's a really good spot.
Accessible, and just generally the people and the atmosphere is a lot calmer and a lot.
You're very chilled out.
Chilled out. It's just you can see it. Just walk down the main street, and you're just like, this is a complete unnatural place.
Personally, I think I'd like to see it rotate. Sydney, Queensland. If they want to throw in another city, I think that's what's best for the fans. Because there are a bunch of people in other states that they're not getting this. Or, there'll be people in Sydney that missed out this year because they can't get to the Gold Coast.
Yeah.
I would say go to Melbourne. I know Melbourne gets packs.
Yeah.
But a lot of the Australian development is done out of Melbourne.
Yeah. Where gets the Comic Con?
The what?
Where gets the Oz Comic Con?
That bounces around.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
But yeah, being there's a lot of indie guys down in Victoria. I think if they only had to pack up, a car and drive down to the Expo and have, a homegrown booth or something there, that'd be a lot better. That's one of the big things that I think we miss.
Yeah, well, that was absent again this year.
That was absent again.
There was no indies.
And I'm not sure whether that's due to location. If it was missed last year, then it was in Sydney. It's missed this year.
Upon talking to them a couple of times from when we first saw them, a couple of them said they weren't going to come back just due to the fact that it was such a hassle and a lot of money to get everything there.
It was, but also it was expensive for their booth.
Yeah.
Because they had to bring all their own consoles, all their own setups, all their own TVs and stuff like that.
And they're running on minimal funds to make the game as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have to come out of a marketing budget, which...
For some of them, is non-existent.
That's right, which is really just what they can drum up.
Yeah.
So getting it into an expo like this, it should almost be subsidised by the expo because they should want more exhibitions in there, more things on show.
And as we found yesterday when you were searching for the game on your phone, marketing is everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
You searched for a game and found another game that had none of the words you were searching for.
Yeah, that's right. But that's because they're paying big bucks for it. But we should be helping out the ones that don't have the big bucks and getting them out there because they could be our next big thing. Like you look at the innovation in video games, and if you take a look at indie games versus AAA games, you'll see a lot more innovation coming out of the indie stuff.
Yeah.
Because
and Firewatch.
They need a point of difference. Because the AAA games are going to sell.
They're willing to take that extra leap and take that chance.
They have to. Because what else have they got?
For them, it's their art.
Yeah.
AAA games are a money-making business. Let's not beat around the bush. Yeah. So it's to formula.
Yeah.
Indie games don't have to be to formula. They're to art. They're labours of love.
Yeah, they can be true to what they actually want to put out.
And you see games like you said, Firewatch and Ori and even Cuphead. Cuphead is amazing.
We Happy Few.
It's great.
Yeah.
Just things that break the chain.
Yeah.
They need to get that out more, and I think the EB needs to get their shit together and get a bit more indie into there.
I would like there to be more indie influence because I remember when they had it a few years ago and they had those individual guys just sitting down there doing their thing, and they were so ecstatic to have you come and talk to them.
Yes. They just all they wanted to do was talk about and they loved every question you threw at them. They just ate it up.
Essentially, us as Aussie Gamers Express, we're exactly the same as them, just in a slightly different medium because, we love our video games, but we talk about them and we play them and we report on them, but we're as indie as them.
Yeah.
We don't have the backing of like IGNs and all that sort of crap with us, GameSpot or anything like that.
But if you'd like to back us, info@AussieGamersExpress.com.
We're happy to become AAA. Is what we're saying. However,
we'll be corporate and we'll tell everyone what you want us to tell us.
To a point.
Yes, but anyway.
I'll start loving COD.
is what it is. Yeah, Call of
I have
Duty.
to pay a lot for that.
This year at EB Games Expo, I noticed it was quality over quantity.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Games like Detroit, Wolfenstein 2, the new Assassin's Creed breaking boundaries with the entire Assassin's Creed genre is just breaking chains and going their own way.
Yep.
Finally, they've changed their formula. And Shadow of War, everybody's been calling out for a new new Middle Earth game after the first one. It was just quality over quantity this year.
All right, well, good segue, Jason. Tell us
Yeah.
what is. Tell me about your number one game and games that you really enjoyed from the show, from the Expo.
Put it on its head that you've said quality over quantity. Did you pick up and play anything that you didn't like?
I would have to say not. The Dragon Ball Z Fighter game, I didn't enjoy that.
Yeah.
I feel like it tried to fit into the formula of Street Fighter too much.
Instead of being being Dragon Ball.
Yeah. It being Dragon Ball, everybody's accustomed to open world fighting arenas, whereas Dragon Ball Fighter, it's just side on.
It's just 2D, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just 2D Street Fighter with the Dragon Ball characters. I didn't enjoy that very much at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that was the only thing I didn't enjoy.
Yeah. I got a game. I won't say I didn't enjoy it, but I was disappointed with it. It was Far Cry 5.
Yep.
That demo, I don't know what they gave you zero time to get a feel for the game. It was over before it even started.
I thought the same thing. It just ended.
Yeah, it just ended, and you're just like, hang on, I was
Didn't
just
really do
starting.
anything,
I was
yeah.
just starting to get a feel for this game, and then and it's like,
It's not enough.
well, I don't feel
Yeah.
connected to the game. I don't feel like I really want to go buy the game yet. You know,
It's
it's
very small
Oh.
encounter.
I played Far Cry 4 at the EB Expo in Sydney before release,
Yeah.
and I felt the same thing then.
Yeah,
I
right.
played because it was the same. It was a Stronghold takedown as well, which is what they had on offer here, and I really was turned off Far Cry 4 by the
So
demo
was I.
they had back then. It ran like shit.
Yeah.
And by that I mean there was like screen tearing, frame rate drops. It just felt rough, and I got no sense of the actual gameplay itself, and it was garbage. Far Cry 4 launched, and I can't remember exactly if it was, but if it wasn't, it was definitely in my top 5 games for that year. I loved Far Cry 4.
Yeah.
After playing it at EB Expo last year, I didn't like it, and then once you said, dude, it's an awesome game, I immediately bought it on the spot.
Far Cry 4,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, look,
whatever.
I'm not denying that it's not going to be a great game. I think it will be a great game. I think the premise is good. I think.
Yeah.
And looking at the surface, it looks like a great Far Cry game. But I found the demo to be really disappointing and lackluster.
Yeah.
So they didn't represent
They
themselves very
really
well.
weren't selling anything. I think. I mean, maybe they are. Maybe they're just ticking the box because they know it's going to sell. I don't know.
I mean,
It
you
all
could,
comes
you
down
could
to
play
the formula
fishing.
again.
Fishing would have been fine. That would have taken some more time for you.
Yeah, you can fish in Far Cry 5.
Yeah, right. So, I drove a semi-trailer, that's what I did. As soon as I killed everyone, I jumped in a semi-trailer and just drove for as long as the game let me.
But we
Smashed
all know,
through checkpoints and everything, just blowing my horn like a crazy red
We don't
waiting
know.
for VR fishing Far Cry 5, right?
Early.
There seems to be a new thing in games. You've got to have fishing because there's
Final
fishing in
Fantasy.
Final Fantasy,
Yeah.
and so it's the new way to chill out in games is to just go fishing.
It's actually quite enjoyable.
It
Just
is.
quietly.
Yeah.
Fishing in games, even playing a full fishing simulator, it's actually quite enjoyable. Kicking back, relaxing.
They're not bad, as long as you can navigate the menus good enough.
What about you, Rem?
It's hard to pick one game that I really liked.
Or really didn't, or
Really
didn't get a feel for it.
I mean, to be fair, probably Origins. It's a game that I've been pegging my hopes on a fair bit and also being very cautious with because I'm a massive fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise. But with the changes that they've made, I've been hesitant as to whether those changes will be for the better or worse. Will that make it a completely different game that I'm not going to enjoy? Or will it better the franchise that I love and make it better in every way? I'm not saying that the game is bad. It's there's a lot of the same formulas in it, but it definitely feels different. But I didn't feel like the demo gave me a great feel for the game. I actually walked out of that experience feeling a little bit negative about it. But by the end of the Ubisoft presentation, I was hyped again to get the game.
Yeah, it's hard with a game like that to give a playable demo because it's not really the kind of game that you can get any real sense of what's going on and how it works.
Yeah. That's right. Because
with a snippet.
Yeah, it was quite a small mission that they gave you. It was pretty much a nothing side task.
Yeah, and you're thrown in
the middle of nowhere.
You don't get the beginning, you don't get any context.
That would be definitely a side mission.
Yeah.
That's where I actually enjoyed it, was they didn't give anything about the story. They didn't try to entice you with a bit of story. Going, hey, this is what you could be playing in such and such time. It gave us the open world, and when you open up that map and then go zoom out...
Yeah, it's huge.
You go, well, shit.
That map is huge.
It's massive.
It is freaking huge. I thought Horizon Zero Dawn had a big map. I think this is going to be bigger in scale.
Well, they did say in the presentation they were going for a more RPG feel.
Well, see, to test it, I went on horseback for, I don't know, maybe 2 minutes and made barely a scratch in the map. I've done that on Horizon Zero Dawn in the past, and you can see a noticeable difference in where you go. I feel like this is going to take a much longer time. It is possibly a little bit or on par with Assassin's Creed 4 with its size.
Really? Yeah. I felt like the horse running for like forever felt a bit like AC1. You know how you travel for ages between one city and the other?
Yeah, they do have fast travel though, which is good. And they do have a cool feature where you hold A and it just follows the road on its own. You can put the controller down, come back later.
Yeah.
Oh, the horse does?
Yeah, the horse just auto-navigates down.
You hold it or press it?
No.
You just hold it for a couple of seconds and it'll go on time.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's good.
You can put that controller... I literally, once I figured that out, I right from the start, I held it. I'm like, what's this? It says follow path. Or I held it again, followed the path, and I put the controller down, and the guy went and taps me on the shoulder and goes, oh, wait, you found what 90% of people don't.
Yeah.
But is there a point to doing that rather than just fast travelling?
Just means you don't have to navigate
when you
the road.
have to first go to cities, that's what you're going to have to do.
Oh, because you can't fast travel until you get there. But then
you'll have to unlock the fast travel points.
Yeah.
So,
it doesn't punish you just with the...
I'm assuming with the synchronization or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's all right.
But it's still going to be a good game.
But
it's just, I didn't come out of it feeling overly positive.
I feel the same way. Absolutely. It just felt underwhelming. I mean, it looks great.
Yes, fantastic.
And it played good enough. The controls are changed, like the whole...
Yeah.
Yeah, your light attack is your RB and your heavy attack is your RT now.
Yeah, so
you
I
have
was...
to lock on for most attacks.
But that's another thing as well, which goes into like the back of my mind when I'm having an experience like that. Because it's so short, because it's just a tester, like I don't really have time to get used to how the controls work. So I'm having a pretty poor experience because I suck, because I don't know the controls.
Another good example for that was playing the new Splatoon game.
Yeah.
The fact that they forced you to use the motion control for the looking up and down.
Yeah.
Now, Nintendo people that have used this system will jump on it and they'll play it and they'll think it's wonderful, but for those like me who don't, all I did was I spent all my time trying to work out. I would be pressing the stick to look up, and the dude next to me would just go, just tilt the controller up, man, just tilt the controller up, you good? Yep, no. And I spent more time worrying about that than actually enjoying the game.
Yeah, I was very much the same. It was, it was 20 years of knowledge goes out the window of just, pulling back on the stick to look up. Yes, I know it's inverted. Now you've got to use the controller, but a bit different.
That being said, though, the full game does actually have a setting for that.
Yeah,
and they said
did say that, but in the build they had, that was just what was there. Yeah.
But like the changes in Assassin's Creed, I welcome them. It does need a big change because too many games now are using that exact same control scheme that I've just playing each different game. I just feel like I'm playing the exact same game with a skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Batman does it, Assassin's Creed does it, Middle Earth does it as well. The exact same scheme.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's getting a bit.
Batman, Mad Max, Shadow of War. They are just reskins.
It's just.
Let's call it what it is.
There are better control schemes out there, and it is good to try new things because, like with Assassin's Creed, they've gone through a few changes. Like I remember in the first one, I think you had to.
You had to hold down X the entire time to walk around undercover.
Yeah,
and it got exhausting. I got calluses on my fingers.
There was one where you had to hold down the button to sprint, but that would also be the same button that would make you climb, which would be frustrating when you were chasing someone and you'd have to go through a corridor.
That was when Brotherhood changed it.
And then you're a bit off to the side, you end up running up the wall instead of going through the corridor, and that got frustrating. So then, the next game came out and they changed it where you press the X or whatever it is to run, but then you had to hold the trigger to go up the walls, which made it a lot better.
And you didn't have to walk around the entire time holding it.
In this game, I found that the running up the wall randomly was an issue again because now you just hold the left stick up and he moves up to a sprint.
That's true, he does.
And then that starts the climbing and then you press X to jump and climb faster.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be an issue when the game fully comes out. So that I don't like it for that reason. But the combat control scheme, I really like it. I found that I noticed you don't have to hold the left bumper to lock onto a target and
it's just press.
Aim and defense. It's just tap it.
Yeah.
And once I figured that out, I was like, well, this changes everything. Yeah. I'm able to use that finger for using my bow, the rapid fire bow I managed to pick up in the middle of a fight.
Yeah.
And that new control scheme, being able to dodge, parry, was just... It really unlocked my Dark Souls control scheme with the light and heavy attack and the dodge and parry.
Yeah.
I was just at that point, and then I was like, okay, this is now Dark Souls and Assassin's Creed together. I'm freaking happy.
It's not quite so brutally hard.
Yeah.
At least not yet.
Unless you try one of those fortresses under-leveled.
Yeah.
Alright. Snoogs.
Nothing that was underwhelming, really. Probably if I had to pick one, I'd go with South Park. I think it was the wrong level to show.
Yep.
Mainly because being that it's South Park, being that it's R-rated, it was inside a room inside the centre, and the doors were shut. So it got very hot in there very quickly, and there was, the same thing as the first mission, the first game. Sorry, you go in, you do something, then to progress to the next part, you've got to go and do kind of like a fetch quests here, there, and everywhere, and get what you need to do to go and do to go and carry on, which were quite simple. I knew exactly what I had to do. It was just the time that it would have taken to do it. It was more like okay, I've seen the game. I know the controls. They haven't changed since I played it last year. It's still as sick and twisted as ever. I still laughed at things I really, really shouldn't. So that's got me won over, really. That was just, it was the wrong level. I would have liked something like last year where it was you jump in, you do one little thing, you have the fight, it finishes, and it finished with the fight, and that was it. There was a little scene after, and that was it. It was like a 10 or 15 minute demo. This one went a bit longer, which was great for that side of it, but I just think it was wrong for the setup, and being that it was so stinking hot when we played it.
Yeah,
that's
I
probably
agree, because I didn't finish the demo. I walked out before I finished it.
Yeah.
I'd had enough before I got through it. But I think the other place where they missed the mark was the only thing they've really changed is the combat system, and they threw you into it without explaining it at all.
Yeah.
So you ended up just stumbling clumsily.
That's because they explained it last year.
Yeah, sure.
So that's why I didn't.
To be fair, I didn't play it last year.
Yeah, exactly.
So I walked in and
there should have been something there. I don't think there was anything up on the walls.
There was a little placard with the controls because
but
that's
that
the
was
only
just
way
the
I
controls.
figured it out.
Yeah.
But I mean,
but actually working out the grid system and
grid system wasn't explained at all.
Yeah. See, the first one, the Stick of Truth, it was very linear. It was you've got two people in front of you, and you can either attack straight ahead or you can attack on the angle. Now you've got like a 3D grid that's kind of like a chessboard. So certain attacks will do, an L-shaped attack. So others will be straight ahead. Others will curve back onto you,
and you're kind of free to move.
And you're free,
you need to be.
Yeah, free to move around that to make your attacks have the most damage. So that'll take a long while to get used to. I think
it'll just take a tutorial to explain what you're doing, and then all of a sudden it'll make sense. Like I said, it was all a case of that the powers weren't explained. So like I go to use something and it wouldn't let me use it, obviously because I'm using it wrong, because it was either a buff or an attack, and I was trying to use a buff like an attack or an attack like a buff, and then it really didn't explain how to select it all that well. And like I said, you've obviously done a tutorial for the combat before last year, but for those that are playing for the first time this year, I think that was just a missed opportunity.
Yeah. What about you, mate? Anything?
Yeah, look, there is a glaringly obvious one for me that was probably the most disappointing, and not necessarily just for the game itself, but the setup and the fact that the game didn't work properly. Was Bravo Team, PlayStation VR game. Now, I've mentioned before that I'm disappointed about the lack of AAA games, or at least full-length games coming out for PlayStation VR that are of interest, and that actually are decent games rather than gimmicks. Bravo Team looked quite interesting, and I jumped on Bravo Team and gave it a go. The only thing is, it was broken. It didn't work. Now, I don't own personally the aim controller. I've used it before with you. You and I, when we went into Sydney and tried the aim controller before release, and it seemed to work fine. We played Farpoint, and it worked fine for me. Did you have any issues with it?
No, except I got turned around and ended up with cables holding my legs together, and
just
from being lost,
from moving around. Yeah.
To be fair, you like that kind of thing. So.
Well, sometimes when I can see it though.
But what happened? What happened with Bravo Team is there was no moving. I was just sitting in a chair, because Bravo Team is kind of like a glorified VR version of Time Crisis. You pop out of cover and you shoot, and then you point. You look where you want to go. You press X, and then you move to that next piece of cover. The only issue is someone next door's having a fucking good time. The aim controller spazzed out a lot. So I would pop out of cover and I would try to aim, but then the aim controller would move. Like in game, my hand, the gun, wouldn't move. So I'm moving the controller, nothing's happening, and then it would freak out, and the gun in game would actually reverse and be pointed at my own head.
Yes,
almost like I was attempting a suicide fucking attempt.
Did you pull the trigger?
No, I don't think it worked.
You tried?
I did.
Well, there was something in the news a little while ago where you could actually use the Move controller with a certain VR game and put it.
No, that was like Oculus or something. Yeah,
it's not VR.
Complaining about
being able to put a gun to your head and
shooting yourself. Yeah, but no. Look,
what do you do? Quit.
Well, I wanted to off myself because my arms were all stretched and stuff, and the gun was pointing. I was like an abomination, like kill me in the middle of a battlefield. The game itself, I think, was okay. That was only a real short experience where I was on a bridge. There was another guy, like it was a co-op experience as well, and it felt like I was popping up, just shooting enemies. It felt like just a little bit boring. If it worked properly, I think it would have been.
Did they give any reason for the? Like, did they see it freaking out on
the
screen?
They did. The guy was saying to me, there's a problem with the lighting. And I'm thinking, well, I play PlayStation VR at home without any lights on, in the dark. So I can't imagine why the dim lighting would have had anything to do with it. Or
if anything, it would have been better than bright.
Yeah, so, look, I don't know. Look, it was...
Maybe just the changing light with all the flashing lights that are around.
Interacting with
now I'm just defending PlayStation.
So. Well, yeah. Look, I don't know.
They don't need my help. They're pretty good at.
I would imagine that it does work properly under the right circumstances, but for me, it was absolutely broken.
It's broken.
Yeah. If
which
the
is a
lights
shame.
if the lights a problem, then maybe don't bring the game and show it. Like
Yeah.
just say, look, it's not working. Let's just give up.
And it first happened to Reprimir. He was playing it before me, and I was watching him. I'm like, oh
did the same
god!
sort of thing.
But and I made the point of using the VR next to him.
Mm-hmm.
Did the exact same thing. So it wasn't isolated to that one unit that was playing up.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been some sort of interference. Who knows? There could be in an exhibition hall like that. There could be all different manners of things that will interrupt whatever's going on there, because they're pretty.
But then
heavy
you
in
also have
technology.
to go, well, all the other VR games are working fine.
Yeah,
so
it's just that game. I saw a few people having the same issue with that game, sitting there waving their gun around.
Well, yeah,
trying to
you-
get it
the
to
game
work.
running the aim control.
It was the only gun
Yeah.
running the aim controller, so I don't know if the aim controller's the issue there.
Yeah.
But then, like, I've played other games with the aim controller. Like I said, we played Farpoint. I had no issue.
I'm happy to put it down to just bad tracking in game, like in the coding. But
Yeah.
I guess we'll see
Needing
more
more
from
polish.
it. Because it is a very promising game.
Yeah, and obviously the setup that they have was optimal. Like, you know, they've got the TV there and the cameras mounted exactly like as you would in the manual where it explains to you. At home, like, the camera gets knocked. Sometimes I'm playing, the camera's off-centre and pointing sort of, I'm on the half of the screen and I don't have any problems, you know. But here it's optimal, pointed right at you, like, you know, it's supposed to be. And that was still horrible. So that was the worst. Because it was funny, I was literally about to take the VR off and say, there you go, buddy, I'm done. But he tapped me on the shoulder and said, time's up. I'm thinking, time's probably not up. You're probably thinking, that dude's got a media badge around his neck there. Let's get him off quicker.
That's definitely throwing in the towel. And ding ding, this round is over.
Yeah,
Saved by the bell. Would you
I
believe?
did with that when I do go into that sort of stuff, I do look at my phone and check the time before I go and sit down and play it. And then I got off in, I think it was 7 minutes. The next group got off in 13, 14 minutes. So double the time.
They moved on the media a bit quicker
Yeah.
from that game, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in their best interests.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Because look at what's going on here.
We're hammering
It
now,
has a lot
so-
of promise, but at the moment it is very broken. And I don't like the disconnection from the camera and the character during the moving.
Yeah,
segments.
because when you select new cover,
Yeah,
the guy
character
starts
and
running,
stuff.
but you stay where you are. And you're like,
Yeah.
wasn't that me?
Yeah, you get
And
that
then it goes,
disconnection.
bing, and then it changes. I
So
reckon,
you don't actually, like, it's not
First
like you
person.
don't first person run.
no.
No,
When you're looking and you select an area, the guy runs and the camera stays exactly where you are, and you watch him run to the cover,
and then
it
teleport.
goes, whoop, and you're there, and you hear him. There's
That's a big miss. That one.
the main reason that I would say they've opted for that is motion sickness.
Yeah.
No, true.
Yeah,
Wasn't there a couple of vaulting you could do over cars that was first person?
not that I experienced.
No? I thought I saw a couple
I
of
tried a
people
do that.
lot
Might
of
have
things
happened.
to do
That was in
but-
the second 7 minutes.
But
Didn't happen.
Maybe, yeah.
I tried to do that a lot of times. I tried to break the game in general, is what I tried to do.
I
I tried to
I didn't
mash
even try and I
buttons at
succeeded.
certain things.
Did you play before, Lucas? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
Did you actually break it for him? It's like-
But he went on the opposite console
Right,
to
right.
what I was sitting on. So whoever was after me got broken console. But no, like I tried to do a lot of things. I tried to like spam the move cover button at several different points at the same time. See if it'll bug the game out. See if I get the character sitting in one thing but the camera at another, and that sort of stuff like that.
You troll.
Well,
No wonder
like, I
they
do-
tapped you on the shoulder and went, alright, 7 minutes, you're up. Get
I
in
do
here."
beta testing work on the site, so I'm there to break the game.
Yeah.
So I tried to break the game, and then I just couldn't find any of these special features or any new fancy things. I did manage to have an infinite clip at one point, so I never ran out of bullets for a solid segment there. And then I pressed the reload button, it fixed it, and like, God damn it.
See, that's all well and good having all the bullets in the world if you can't aim at anything but your own head.
Yeah, it was a whole lot of me aiming, using the trigger, pointing it at one thing, and it going in game, going.
Anyway, that'd be my worst. Greg, did we get yours?
Yeah, mine was Far Cry.
Oh, that was that. That's right. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
And Splatoon.
Well, how about we talk about our favourites?
Yes.
Who wants to go first with that one? Not all at once.
Great.
Well, to be fair, if we all say it at once, which one our favourite was, I'm going to say there's going to be at least 50% of us are going to say.
Oh, let's say it all at once.
All right,
then.
then. Ready?
3, 2, 1. Detroit.
See, I told you.
I don't think that was 50%. I think that was 100.
Yeah, look,
yeah.
I said at least 50%.
All right, well, instead of going around the room and asking, let's all just discuss Detroit Become Human. So this is a game that's exclusive to the Sony PlayStation, and it's by Quantic Dream, the guys that made Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. So it is a heavy narrative-based game with real consequences based on what you do in-game and how thorough you are and the decisions you make. Massive differences to the outcome. Although, I believe when we all played it individually, we all got the same outcome, didn't we?
Yeah, we were
Yes.
all thorough.
I think that's the big thing, the fact that our personalities line up pretty much, and especially considering that, well, the majority of us here are parents. That really pulled on. It's for me particularly, being, and probably for yourself too, having a little girl. Mm-hmm. For those that are wondering,
yeah, I was going to say, to clarify,
we'll set up the scenario.
The scenario that you're playing is the video that was shown off at E3.
Yep.
So there's no spoilers. It's been around for 12 months. You're an android negotiator. You go into a house where a little girl, has been kidnapped or taken hostage by her android butler, servant, caretaker.
That's the interesting part. That's the scenario. But you're basically thrown in at a point where you know nothing.
Yeah.
You're brought in. It's quite funny. They said you're an android negotiator, and I was like, does that mean I'm an android that's a negotiator, or do I only negotiate with androids?
That was answered pretty quickly, I would have thought.
It was, yes, eventually.
But yeah, I can understand.
But we watched that little video before we actually played it.
Yes,
Hang on. Anyway, it gets in there and you know nothing. You are literally just thrown into it. And
you literally open the door and...
that's it. You open the door.
Screaming and yelling and...
You're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
One of the big things that made me come up with that same outcome is when the parent come in and said, "Why did you send an android? You can't do that." I felt
real
the
human.
need to perform more with a higher success rate.
Yes. And with what you can investigate throughout the scene, determine how much you know, and the more you know, the more you can place into the outcome because it's a hostage negotiation situation. You don't know who's involved.
Yeah.
And because it is an android that's the problem, the human police force are very negative towards it. So they have no information to give you. You speak to the captain and he pretty much tells you just do your bloody job.
Do your job
Do
your job or I'll kill it myself. So they don't tell you, name, if they've tried anything, nothing like that. It's
and
pretty
then you
much
get a
just
pop-up that says time is everything.
Yeah.
It's just, well, I better get to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you get the choice, do you investigate or do you just go?
Yeah. Do you want to risk this
But
cop
then
just
if
going
you
out
go
there?
straight out there, you don't have the guy's name, so you can't use that. Because that's a really important thing in negotiations, is to use the person's name because they feel like you're listening.
I noticed that the person next to me didn't go into the bedroom and get the android's name. So when he went out there, all I saw in the subtitling was, "I don't know you, you don't know me, we don't mean anything to each other." And I was just like, wow, I got something completely different. Mine said, "Hello, Denny, I'm Connor."
Yeah, that's right. You get that extra option, and that allows you to take different approaches. Now, obviously, because we all really wanted to do well, and it was a little girl that was in peril.
I think there was a couple of triggers that we've touched on. There's the little girl thing, and like I said, most of us are parents, and we feel that way. And like you said, there's the mother part, and you feel the obligation to do better than that. There was another one I was thinking of just a second ago, and I've now lost my train of thought.
The cop that was bleeding outside.
The more time you took, the more the cops got shot around.
I think that's what gives you the sense of urgency, is the people getting shot the entire time.
The longer you take,
the longer you're taking, you hear more people die.
Yeah.
There was something else, though. When you first walk in, there's something else that triggers, that I thought was a really strong trigger.
The immediate picture you pick up was a big thing as well, just seeing the closeness of the family. There's the very first thing you can interact with is a photo of the dad, the mum, and the kid.
Yep.
And that was just like, wow, that's... And then I walked around the corner, I saw one of the family members already gone. I'm like, wow, this family's already torn apart. I don't want to make it worse. I really need to help this.
Yeah, well, there was... One of the big things I found too, I always look for the little things in games.
Yeah.
And, whether it be a lighting effect or anything like that.
Or a fish.
Yeah, well, the fact that the fish tank had been shot out and there was a fish on the ground, and you got to choose whether to save the fish or not. But I also walked into the kitchen, and there's dinner still bubbling away on the stove.
Yeah.
And I didn't turn it off. I just left it off. Yeah, I just left it and walked out.
Which, funnily enough, did improve your chances for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And
I thought that might increase the chances.
That was the other thing.
food.
That was the other trigger. Is the entire time that you're working, you have a percentage meter that's telling you your potential outcome.
Yeah.
So each time you pick up, it gives you an upgraded percentage, and it also amps up the tension, especially when you start talking to the android.
And it goes up and down.
And it goes up, and you get the blue response, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm winning. And then you make a decision, and then all of a sudden it goes red and drops, and you're like, uh-oh, now I'm in trouble.
One thing I noticed is I purposely made a bad decision in one of the dialogue things to test it, because I thought I heard it earlier. The music score. If you get a negative thing, the music score ramps up and gets more intense.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And it plays a beat that really gets your heart racing. It's one of those things that a lot of people have talked about, happiness beats and that sort of stuff. This one had a real urgency beat, or I felt my heart changing the pace.
So it's a
I was getting the same adrenaline rush that any interrogator, not interrogator, but whatever it's that would be in that situation.
Well, with what you were saying about turning off the dinner, someone mentioned about, I don't know why, the percentage increased. Well, the way I would look at that is that learning about what they were doing immediately before the shit hit the fan is an increased piece of information.
It was the turning off that was like Pat said, he went and looked at it, and he would have got the information from looking at it. But you also have the choice at the end to turn it off.
Yes, but I think turning it off is acknowledging that you're aware of that.
I also feel like the android outside would have seen it, and he would have had a more willingness to talk to somebody who would take the time to
stop their dinner from burning,
to just save the fish, because that was in clear sight of an open door, to turn off the potentially dangerous thing that could burn down the house.
So the acknowledgement and knowing that, okay, these guys were in the middle of cooking dinner when something went down, that could possibly be used in conversation.
Yeah.
I know what was going on here. You guys were about to have a meal. You had, the stew on the pot back there. What happened? And, you can use that. The more you know about somebody, the better you can relate to them. Whether it's, you're putting on a show because you want, and you've got an outcome and you want to resolve it, or whether you're genuine, it doesn't really matter, because if you can get and connect with that person, it'll work for you.
Yeah.
And the game manages to just grab all those different possible outcomes and mix them up there, and as well as giving you a percentage as to what's going on.
To try that I never ended up doing was you know how many bullets was in the gun, you can see how many bullets were fired. Could you go out when you knew that the android was out of bullets? Could you count the bullets until they were out and go out and see if that changed anything?
The thing is, I thought I was being pretty thorough, but when I walked out of the door, it gives you a percentage of how much information you found, and I only found 69%, which means there's a 31% pieces of information.
Yeah, I don't think you get 100% out, because I only got it to 72, I think it was.
But I also noticed in some of my decisions, when it gave me the option to choose, some of my options were blanked out.
I feel like that is the demo feature of it.
Maybe
not giving you the full option, because I feel like there is a missing, because you can never get 100%. I feel like there's a missing ending where the
well, maybe there's a lot more for the final
survives.
version for that scene. Yeah.
I feel like he will survive at that point, because I did everything I could to get the girl out alive and get the android deactivated safely.
Yeah.
With no shots fired or anything. It was,
what about the cop, the officer that was downed outside that was bleeding out?
I put a tourniquet on him.
Yeah, I did that too.
I ignored
Which
it.
was seamless.
Yeah. I missed it.
It was absolutely seamless. I could still negotiate while doing that.
It was, yeah.
was very
I
clever.
pressed the button to put the tourniquet on,
Yeah.
but then I was threatened, so I had stopped.
I ignored him and kept going.
Oh, and how did that go?
Yeah,
He
he turns around and
gets a little bit more pissed at you,
but you sort of staring down, and it's
you get an
you
extra option. You say, "Well, this man."
I love his
bleeding
reply.
out.
You can't kill me because I'm not alive.
Yeah,
Because he threatened to kill you, didn't he?
Yeah. And I was just deadpan looking at him while he's putting the
I
tourniquet
don't
on.
think the android realised that you were an android yourself until that moment.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. We may have had the same outcome, but we still got there in different ways.
Yeah.
We'll have different experience.
Did you check the bathroom? Did anyone else check the bathroom?
What was in the bathroom?
Nothing. But you actually walk up to the door and you look in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I
And you check
looked, but it didn't.
Yeah, you just check it out. There's nothing
Yeah, I
in
just
there.
looked in there in case there was something hidden
Yeah.
in there that
I
could
don't
have
think I
helped
did.
out.
It doesn't ring a
I
bell.
didn't, no.
It was just like a cracked door. It wasn't.
Yeah,
And did you pick up the gun?
yeah.
Yes.
I picked up the gun.
Yes.
And that's what gained me a bit of trust with him, is because I didn't lie to him. I told him the truth that I had a gun,
I did
so
too.
he made me drop it.
Oh, so
I
you
like
guys took the gun and then I put it back down.
I picked
I
it up
put it down.
and then dropped it, and that gained me like 10%
Yeah.
on just his
Yeah.
trust.
Oh.
See, I lied to him and said that I wasn't armed, and it actually gave me a lethal option.
Ooh.
Different
So
option.
so I could have used it with. I think I still had to do a couple of other things differently, because even though I had the gun, I decided to try and diffuse the situation.
Yeah.
But it actually gave me an option to say it just come up, flashed on the screen, lethal option
So
available.
you didn't see it when you were helping the cop?
No.
That was
Because it was in
interesting,
the
because
back.
that's one of the things that once I helped the cop, was like, if I had the gun still, he'd be able to see it underneath my coat, like pop up when I leant over and the coat lifted up. Because I just put it in the back. You just put it in the back of your pants.
Oh, there you go.
I feel
Quite
like he
interesting.
wouldn't have seen it.
Another thing that we haven't mentioned about it is how unbelievably amazing the graphics are.
Oh,
My
man.
first experience with it was because there's a slight sort of introduction to the game, like a little cutscene, and like I said to you guys the other day, the gauge of a game that has amazing graphics is when you are watching a cutscene, and then the transition from cutscene to you are actually in control is so smooth that you sit there standing there doing nothing for a good 10 seconds going, what's going on?
I had to be
and then
tapped
you
on the
move
shoulder.
then you move the controller and you're like, oh, I'm in control? That looks like cutscene, and there was no fade to black, there was no loading screen, it was cutscene straight, you're in control now, go nuts.
I think part of the reason that that's so successful is Heavy Rain has that very cinematic camera style as well.
Yeah.
Which lends itself to that kind of that illusion.
That's
And
something
no
we do.
obvious...
And no obvious sort of panning that
To-
takes you out
Camera
or anything
change
like
or
that.
anything.
They can afford, because you're playing in that cinematic view, you are cutscene cinematic to playing cinematic, and it's the same.
It's
view.
still the same, and there's no HUD that dirties it up and makes it
Yeah.
obvious that pops
Yes,
up.
that's right.
and-
Yeah.
You
It's-
don't need it as well.
No,
It's
you
like
don't.
that sort of game. You don't need the HUD. You just need the information that is.
On-screen prompts and things.
Yeah, you just
You
need
really
to
have
know.
to think, yeah.
Hey, I can pick up this. let's look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm looking forward to in Detroit is more scenes like that. I mean, I know it's not going to be like an action-packed game where you're going to be, playing, fighting people and things like that. A lot of it's probably going to be QTEs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the immersion that you can get from a game like that is amazing. That demo, my heart was pounding coming up to the end because I was like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And
It was amazing how invested you were after such a short
time.
And because, like I said, we all got to the same, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but the fact is we all got to the same conclusion. I guarantee we all felt that sting at the end, and we all went,
oh,
wow, I just tried so hard, and that happened.
But yeah, I think we all got to the same conclusion for the reason that I think we are all very similar in our tastes and experiences in life as well.
No, I'm saying and that sting that you felt, that's investment in the game.
Yeah.
And
very much so.
That was what really I took away and went, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, for all of us here in this room to all be saying the exact same thing, that this was the game of the Expo, this is something that's going to be great for Sony. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Definitely.
Quantic definitely, they really brought it. They really brought it this time around, as they do with every other game that they bring out. This game really brought it home. I find myself going back to Heavy Rain every now and then and playing it, but I don't feel like it kept up with the time. Time has not been nice to it.
It didn't age well.
No, it didn't.
And Beyond Two Souls, it's a completely different game. It's more based around supernatural stuff, and I didn't really like it as much. I like the inquisitiveness that it brings from you, that the Detroit does. I want to know exactly what happened.
It's a game that makes you use your brain in ways that you don't during the day.
This is Heavy Rain's natural successor.
This
is
100%.
This is Heavy Rain's the better. This is what Heavy Rain would have, what they would have wanted Heavy Rain to be.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on a bit. What's another game that you guys want to talk about?
I just want to throw a big surprise out there. So there was a few little things that were around. So Major League Baseball, or MLB 17. I actually had a lot of fun with that. I'm a baseball fan, so it's kind of a given anyway. But the big thing, we've joked about it on the podcast before, Skyrim on the Switch.
Oh, yeah.
I was completely and utterly blown away from it. For the fact that it's this little handheld device. Yes, when we got to play it, we were playing it on a TV, so it was in upscale, it was docked, it was good to go. But being that it was on a handheld device, it still looked exactly like it did on the PS3.
Yeah,
I can say that because I put a stupid amount of time in it, to borderline divorce limit time I put into that game. And the fact is that it still looked as good as it did back then, but it loaded up in a 15th of the time.
Yeah, it loads quickly.
Really quick. Yep. It's really clear. The animation was fantastic. I was expecting it to chug. I really was. And to go on and see it do this, I was just absolutely blown away by it.
And it's Skyrim on the go. You can play that wherever you want.
Yeah,
exactly.
But that's the draw card there. Because yes, Skyrim's available everywhere. It's on PS4, it's on the PC, Xbox. It's available.
Now it's truly everywhere.
Yeah, well, you can take it wherever you want, and it did run really well.
Yeah, very surprising.
Did anyone get a chance to try it with the VR option?
No, I didn't.
I did put that down because that was,
Yeah.
that was divorce territory.
That's also just a major gimmick.
I do love Skyrim. I love the Elder Scrolls. I play ESO. I love that entire world and how invested I can get into the lore. And let's be honest, it's it's dragons, it's magic, it's everything that growing up as a kid, it was a big fantasy thing.
It's just adding a physical element to that same game.
See, I'd like Skyrim VR if I could still use the controller.
Yeah.
The fact that you've got to stand there and swing things. Not
Well, no,
only,
maybe you can.
yeah, well, for what they had, the thing is, being that it's VR, you get ridiculously immersed.
Like,
So if you're standing there in a lounge room swinging something around, you're going to end up putting your hand through the TV, or you're going to belt something, or it'll be another one of those.
There's a 4-year-old kid sitting on the ground crying because you just mace him
clocked
to
it.
the face.
you do shield
Yeah,
that.
so there's,
To be fair, the end of the mace is pretty squishy.
Yeah. Still.
yeah, so there's that sort of tack to it, and I would have liked to have a go, but I did stay away because Skyrim's borderline an addiction for me.
I feel like Skyrim VR will be better on the PC platforms with the Vive and such, because
Is that a
you
power
can
thing?
change you can move your hands separately a lot better with it, and just the ability to be able to pick up something and inspect it there. I didn't see, when I was watching people play it, I didn't see that they'd gotten rid of the menu or something for it, where they picked up something, it'd go in their inventory, and then they'd have to go into the inventory and look for it and then inspect it. I'd
Yeah,
like to be
okay.
able to see, just pluck it and
just
look
have
at
a look
it,
at it.
and just see what's around it, what it looks like, bring it close, take a look at it. Whereas when you picked it up, it was just like regular Skyrim. You pick it up, went in your inventory, you had to look at it.
And look, that's where it becomes a gimmick.
Yeah.
'Cause they're not putting anything
Yeah.
extra into the
So what-
game. It's just a physical.
What would the PC bring more to it?
The PC VR has a lot more compatibility with external products, where they're just bringing out as weird as it sounds, is like a power glove for the HTC Vive.
Oh,
where
for, like,
it tracks
finger
your
tracking.
movement tracking. Like you've seen it before. It's like you hold something with your fingers like this. You can change it to like that easily. You can throw things around and catch them and easily like that, and it tracks you almost perfectly.
Just for those that can't see what he's talking about, he put his
Yeah,
index
yeah.
finger and thumb together and then switched it to his pinky and thumb. That's what he meant by you can do this and then do that.
I'm a very hand movement talker. Like,
I bet you are.
yeah. That one needs in a lot.
All right. Well, let me introduce into the conversation Wolfenstein 2, the new
Very
Colossus.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
impressed.
Now we got a chance to play that. We played that on PC, and there was the option to use keyboard and mouse. What did you use, or
Keyboard
a
and mouse.
controller? You were keyboard and mouse, of course you were, Jason.
Of course he was.
I didn't even think about it. I picked up the controller.
You picked up the controller. What about you?
Controller.
Yeah, controller.
I picked up the keyboard and thought, oh, this looks pretty sick. Let's put it aside and get them.
Picked up the keyboard and put it in your bag.
No, it's sort of like, oh yeah, this looks nice, but it's in my way.
Yeah, I just used the
Yeah.
controller. But that is another game.
And then I inverted it, and I could feel the guy standing next to me rolling his eyes.
Oh god, we're gonna have to change that back
Look,
up.
he was rolling his eyes at you because I did exactly the same
Yeah,
thing.
because he was watching me, not you.
Yeah, that's right.
But look, that's a promising game. Look, that was a decent length demo, which gave a good, decent insight into the story of the game and how it begins.
Yes.
I mean, I assume it's the beginning of the game, and the gameplay felt really solid. The performance of the game was really well, like it was on a PC, and it was.
But it's very close to release, so I actually think it has gone gold.
It has.
I think so, yes.
It looked like it was in that kind of state anyway.
I feel the minor things in that game were so prominent that I
Oh.
just had to enjoy every little bit of it.
Yes.
And I did not feel guilty for it either. It was just every little thing I would inspect and take a look at and go, that's freaking awesome.
I must admit, I did spend a lot of time just taking pot shots at people and getting to run back through the trap.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And
Those
then turn into a nice gooey mess.
the microwave traps that will make them explode from the inside out.
Yeah.
To be honest, this unlike some of the other things we've talked about tonight. This is how you do a demo.
Yes.
This
Yeah, it was
gave you everything that makes you want to buy the game.
Yeah.
It shows you all the neat things that this game is going to do.
Did you see when you first go through and the doctor comes out and says, don't move, wait for me to turn it off, and then you go into the little room and then he locks everything up and then he switches all the traps back on?
Yeah.
Did you see the guys in the background?
Oh, yes. Oh,
They
Yeah,
just
when
kept
they
running
come in.
through.
Oh,
There,
so good.
no. So a few of them come running through, and then one guy come up,
Sneaking up.
and he's standing there, and he's trying to do the high knee sneak, like the
That was so good. I laughed my ass off when I saw that. It was so good.
Yeah, that was
brilliant.
after the first ones that come through. wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
It's one of the
yeah.
last ones.
So he
Yeah, so
switches-
he's sort of like standing there looking at it, then tries to do the big sneak through, and
Because he switches it on, which catches a couple immediately, but then a little bit later into the dialogue, you see them walking through, and he's like walking slowly, boom, and then it
Yep.
explodes. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome. That was a laughable moment. Oh, sucked in. Anything that happens to Nazis, though, I guess
Yeah,
we're
it's
allowed to giggle and
Comical
laugh.
gore. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
well worth its R rating, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
Definitely a Wolfenstein game.
It
sure.
is. It's
Yeah,
very
well,
much Wolfenstein. Even to the point where you're picking your difficulty at the start.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's like
Still got the old school menus.
Yeah. So you go back to the "Don't Hurt Me," and he's got his bonnet and his dummy and his mouth.
This is unapologetically 90s shooter.
It's
Yeah.
so
Yes.
It's still got that 90s essence of we don't care. We don't really
what-
give a fuck. You're killing shit.
That's what
You're
I
going
really
to kill
just
shit
like.
en masse, and we're going to do it very tongue-in-cheek. It's
And
going to be
like-
so over the top you can't take it seriously.
I was always worried with the first two releases that something was going to go wrong with it, like to detract it from that very first feel.
Yeah.
And they didn't. And then I found myself super excited about this one because of the success of the previous ones.
Yep.
And this one just delivered on that
Yeah, dude.
tenfold.
Good.
Can we mention the fact that he's in a wheelchair for this entire demo?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
you're
how
in a
easy
wheelchair.
it is to get around in
It
a
was
wheelchair?
cool.
It was awesome.
He is like the world's best wheelchair.
It's so
yeah,
good.
I'm just like,
He's
that's
just
a
like
ledge.
come out of a coma and like, oh, wheelchairs. Yeah, no, I totally know everything about wheelchairs.
Yeah. Oh,
And the
that's a
fact that
set
he
of
can
stairs.
strafe one-handed.
Yeah.
That's
That
right,
was-
yeah.
that was
Totally.
one-handed.
And that's a set of stairs, but you can go down them.
Oh, yeah,
No,
for
he-
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, and he just
So
sort of
did
does
you
the
know?
whole-
Okay, so with the stairs, did you notice that you can go if you're like moving slowly, and he's got his hand on the chair when you start to go down the stairs, and you move slowly, and then as soon as you sort of sprint, he takes his hand off it, and he sort of
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
goes down.
skates.
Yeah.
So you got that
Catapults
sort of
down.
the multiple speed. I thought the speed of the wheelchair was on point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was like there was no smooth moving.
Yeah.
It was very jerk the wheel,
Yes.
roll,
Yeah, it was
jerk
good.
the wheel, and it's fast, slow, and it kind of made it a bit awkward when you were trying to go outdoors.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you'd actually almost feel
Half
like you need to
roll.
wheel back a little bit and get a run up at the door. So you're just starting to peek out before all of a sudden. Otherwise, you'd be at the door and do a big push.
That
and then,
did get me killed a
guns.
couple of times.
Surprise!
Yeah, and yes, I was the same. I
I-
died
I
a couple
was-
of times that way.
I was peeking a corner. I'm like, oh yeah, peek in the corner. I'll peek out the corner. I'll peek in the corner. And I went to peek out the corner. I went, boom! I was like, not as much as I hope. Please don't.
And
Had a
running.
lean feature on it too. You could actually lean around
Yeah.
the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Very heavy lean.
And,
Yeah.
and when you go to run, he'd put his gun down and he'd use two hands and scoot along.
Yeah.
But it also meant that at the other end, if you ran into someone, there's
You'd
just
have
that
to
little
pick
bit of
up
time
your gun.
where you got to pick up your gun, and it just
Yeah.
added just that little
The
bit.
contextual lean was a good
There
ad.
you go.
Yes.
Using the gears and cranks of the U-boat to actually get back up in levels was very clever as well.
Yeah, because obviously going upstairs is a bit of a challenge in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But look, that was definitely a demo that would sell the game.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
That was one of the
Absolutely.
successful ones.
Definitely.
Like we had. I think what my opinion was bad demos, like with Origins and Far Cry. Look, probably fantastic games in their own right, but the demos weren't too good. Didn't show off their
Best
strengths.
features.
Yep. But yeah, Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, definitely had a fantastic
was
demo.
awesome.
Absolutely
It was
perfect.
All right. Well, what we'll do is we'll maybe just plough through a few of the other games that we played quickly in the sense of not going all night, because I reckon if we did go into the amount of detail that we have so far, we're probably going to be here until we got to leave in the morning.
Yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey was absolutely fantastic. It was
yes.
one of my top games that I wanted to play before we got here. I got a chance to try it out, and I was absolutely pleased. It's a fun Super Mario game that had a lot of things in there that were new. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's great to learn. I had a good time
And
with
then
it.
added nostalgia points too.
Yes. How
Yeah,
good.
there's a couple of points in there where you go back to the 2D stuff on the walls in the 3D world. You'll play Super Mario with the old graphics across the wall. kind of like that Zelda game did.
Yeah.
Nintendo are really good for that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they love the
They
nostalgia.
love their nostalgia.
It's what they thrive on.
Yeah.
But the way that it comes out of 2D and he pops straight back up into 3D
Yeah.
as he gets to the top of the wall was seamless.
Super seamless.
It was so good.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really good. So I'm looking forward to that when that comes out later this month. Sonic Forces. Got a
Wow.
chance to play that as well. There were 3 game modes in it. There's kind of like a new Sonic Forces mode. Then there's like the classic platformer style, and a third mode, which is where you get to create your own character.
Yeah, and
So
join
there's
the
a
team.
whole bunch of little animals that you get to choose from, and different abilities and power-ups.
I didn't see that one.
And then the
Oh,
game
yeah,
makes
just
you
like the
feel
classic
like
bit.
that character is welcome in that team of
Yeah,
of those known heroes.
and it changes it up because you can. It's custom. You can do as many as you like, and it'll change the gameplay because there's although it's not infinite the amount of things you can do. Like it's not like a character creator from Fallout or anything, but you can create these different things like with different animals that have different abilities,
Yeah.
and you can mix and match and have different experiences. It's actually really good. My favourite is obviously the classic, the platformer one.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was really
That's
fun.
Pretty cool.
But yeah, I've got high hopes for Sonic Forces when that finally releases, so that looks good.
That was a lot of fun. I actually found myself having more fun with that than I expected.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it was just good, and it was a throwback. I was, more Sega than Nintendo growing up, and Sonic was one that was always fun, and it kind of brought back that feeling just of playing Sonic. So that was
Yeah.
that was good.
With some fancy new graphics, which is a good opposition when they've released Sonic Mania earlier this year, which was purely classic,
Yeah.
even with the old graphics and sounds and all that. And this one just bumps it up, same year release, but bumps it up to a different generation of gaming and gives you a lot of options in there. So that was good as well. What about Ash's Cricket?
A lot of fun.
It looks good. Like I've seen the
When
Don
you
Bradman games.
Yeah, when you compare it to Don Bradman, it's taken everything that Don Bradman has done. It's now licensed, so it's got a bit more coin behind it,
Yeah,
and it has stepped it up phenomenally.
yeah.
So a lot of the core features are still there. It's very in depth with its control style, and I enjoyed it. I didn't do well, but Jeremy that was talking us through it, he come on. He's like, "Oh yeah, it takes a little bit to get used to," and blah 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 blah. And then he put a 6 over cover. So it was doing all right and showing us up. But yeah, it's taken everything. It's all licensed now. Character likeness, names, places, stadiums are all redone. You can change how the camera sits, so you can go up close behind the batter, further back. You can do it how Don Bradman is, which is pretty much behind the bowler, and work out from there. But
And the broadcast view
The
that they had as
broadcast
well,
angles.
which is more like what you'd see if you were watching cricket
if
on
you're
telly.
watching the game, yeah.
Yeah, so I think those that are fans of Don Bradman will be pretty happy with this.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
I'm going to say even non-fans, because I don't like cricket. I don't like cricket games, but I even enjoyed watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it,
Yeah.
it looked like it played really well. It looks like a really good cricket game. Look, I'm no one to criticise a cricket game because I don't play them. I don't
But
know them very well.
Yeah.
But it looked like a good game.
Even the way that it's played, it's similar to Don Bradman. I didn't play a lot of the Don Bradman games, but I have played a lot of cricket. I played cricket for nearly 16 to 18 years, and so you've got one stick that will move you around the crease when you're batting, and the other stick's your shot selection. So if for instance, what you've got to do if you're going to put a drive in, you've actually got to step into the ball while making sure that the shot selection is correct to be making a straight bat shot in that way, and then you've got to also click one of the top 4 buttons to either be a power shot or a placement shot or a psycho shot or a defensive.
Definitely something you need to.
Yeah.
So you need to spend
practice.
some time with it, and I reckon I'll get my hands on it and have a bit of fun with it. I think.
Nice. Snoogs, I know you had a go at the Crew too.
Mm-hmm.
How did that go?
good.
Looked good. I was watching you play.
Yeah.
I did. I had a big fail.
What'd you do?
Greg had a bit of a fail.
I had a fail. So I probably played Crew 1 more than anyone else here. I like that game.
You're big on that, yeah.
That was one of the first.
So I was like,
games.
all right, I got to try this one. I drove, and once again, you were just playing the video that was played at E3. So you go from driving the car to driving the boat to driving the plane. Well, I drove the car and that was fine. I got on the boat and it had a crash. And then I went off a jump and I got beached on a shipping container. And for the next minute and a half, I spent trying to work out how to reset my boat back into the water, and eventually just put the controller down, walked away in embarrassment because I couldn't work it out.
You're beached is,
So
bro.
literally, beached is. So there's this powerboat sitting on a shipping container, just left there.
Off the top.
And which then Rumoother, as I walked away, just went, "This is all you have to do," and pressed 2 buttons, just held them down and reset. And I just went, "Oh well, I can't be bothered now." And just kept walking. So
Yeah, but it's an arcade style racer.
Yeah,
so if you played Crew 1, it's
very similar.
Very similar, but it's a step forward.
I wouldn't say it's the same, but it's
similar. One thing I did want to point out: when you were driving the boats, if you crossed another boat's wake,
Oh yeah,
that was brutal.
It's really brutal on you.
Yeah, it's hard.
So much so that in any other game I've never had it have that much.
I've never noticed it before.
Yeah.
This, you notice it straight away.
Yeah, when you notice when you cross that weight, because you hear the thud, and then the front end will literally stop, but because the power's in the back, it's still going.
Yeah.
So it'll point you in the wrong direction. And there was more than once that I end up pointing the wrong way.
If you get hit by another driver, you're off.
Once again, though, this is kind of. I don't think it's really showing anything of the game. It's showing you racing, but anyone that's played the Crew knows that there's more to it than just the
absolutely.
It felt more like an exhibition event, like you.
I feel like they're
Yeah.
changing the way with this game. Though I feel like they're getting rid of the narrative.
Look,
It's hard to say.
the narrative in the first one wasn't great.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And I think they were trying something different,
Yeah.
and I applaud them for it. I'm going to say, like I said, while I played it a lot, I don't think they nailed it.
I wasn't a big fan of the narrative either because I played it a quite deal as well.
Even the RPG style, I thought was just, like I said, it's new for a racing game.
Yeah,
But I don't think they hit the nail on the head. And
I feel like they took Need for Speed World and tried to make an entirely new game out of it.
I think they tried to make a Destiny version of Need for Speed.
Yeah. Well, that's what they did with
felt
Need
like.
for Speed World on
idea,
the PC. It was a free-to-play RPG Need for Speed where you had to buy or upgrade your car in increments with levels and level caps and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I never liked that platform itself, but playing the Crew, I felt it was a little bit more refined, but yeah, I didn't like it.
The grind was real, especially in the first year.
I feel like if the Crew 2 took a more Forza Horizon narrative to it, with the open world, it'd be a flawless racing game.
Yeah. I think Cannonball Run style storyline where you actually have a reason to race across the country. Yeah, that would be perfect. But see what happens. We don't know. It wasn't very clear.
No, nothing was given away.
No, it was just he's racing. That's it.
All right, we'll move on to another game. I don't think any of us got a chance to play Monster Hunter World, did we?
No.
I eyed it off a fair bit. The lines on that one were quite long.
I watched it a fair bit.
Yeah, I had a good look at it, and the boss, well, not really boss fights, but the monster fights, they look amazing. It looks like it plays really well. So
well, no one was walking away frustrated.
No, and it looks like good fun.
They were pretty long sort of sessions that you could have with it, and no one put it down.
Not gonna lie, I saw a couple of people go back into the line.
The monsters in there look so well scaled. They're huge. They've got the art to it. There's a lot of moving parts on them, tentacles and hair and all that sort of stuff flailing around. It looks great. Now I'm used to Monster Hunter being typically like a 3DS game, and looking fairly basic. This looks like it deserves Xbox, PlayStation You know,
Oh, yeah.
like current
They
generation.
definitely
'cause
had to
it looks
step
great.
it up from the predecessors of Monster Hunter
Yeah, it's
to
a
be
big
on
change.
the current consoles.
So Monster Hunter World's one to look out for. It looks really good, but yeah, I didn't actually get my hands on it as yet. Shadow of War is one that was there to play. Did anyone play it?
I did play it.
You played it? What'd you think?
Freaking awesome.
Yeah?
Take the first one and ramp it up by at least 5 times.
Did they ruin anything?
No, not that I found myself. I found that the Wraith-like abilities between Talion and the Wraith were so much more fluent instead of just
That's Celebrimbor, is it?
yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah.
Something like in the first one, it felt that the Wraith was just too detached from Talion.
Say it.
What is it?
Celebrimbor.
Celebrimbor.
Let's just call him Cal.
Alright, Callie.
Tal and Cal.
Like the jointness and the fluidness of Callie and Tally. It felt just, it was there. Like it felt flowing. It wasn't just an animation played. It felt dynamic and felt affected by the current positioning of the character. Like in one, I found myself, I was aiming at something and then I'd try to do the Wraith dash. And if that character moved, it would just get to that position and then teleport to where the character was.
Oh, yeah.
But in this one, if that character moved and you did that Wraith dash, the time would slow down around you, so it would be like a cheeky way of getting around it. But then it would also have that little curve towards where the enemy was.
It sort of
and
compensates for the movement.
I felt that you could chain together more skills without having animations being cancelled or animations being dodgy and blocky.
Mm.
So it just felt overall more fluent, more fun, and immersive experience.
What I like about those games is the real tongue-in-cheek attitudes of the orcs.
Yes.
Or the Uruks, I think
I'm
they're called.
keen to see...
Urukai? Yeah.
Uruk-
Yeah, the Urukai.
Are they different, the Uruk and the Urukai?
No, the Uruks is just a short.
It's just
Well,
a short
short
version.
Uruk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also the whole thing of there being 7 different factions now instead of just the one,
Yeah.
which was the faction of the hand in the first one.
Yep.
Adds a bit of complexity to it.
There's going to be... I feel like there's going to be more wars between them and the Talion character and them at the same time. So it's going to be more of a battle royale rather than Uruk fight you.
Also, it helps separate.
Yeah.
Like, the problem I found with the first one was once I'd sort of defeated one group, now it's rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
I feel like you'll finish one group, and then the next group has a different set of skills and ideals, and you'll have to work around
I
that.
did test that thing that they were saying that the customization, the random generation of the Uruk captains themselves, you will not find the same one on another person's thing. I sat there and watched probably 4 different people play it. They killed probably maybe 20 to 25 captains to themselves. None of them had the same captain at all.
Wow.
And I felt that was, that's just true in the nature of their
Well,
work.
yeah, well, with you create enough assets and the randomness into it,
Yeah.
it's going to be hundreds of thousands of different options. I would imagine. So
Whereas
that's
one,
probably
I
right.
found the same Uruk come back. I was like, I killed you before, and then he had some stupid line. He's like, you thought you killed me. I'm like, I kind of did. Your head's sort of sitting over there.
I grew another one.
But also, was it the same group that was in the demo in the Ubi, which was he was a necromancer, so there's a good chance that group is going to regen
Yeah.
and respawn after
Well,
you
yeah,
kill
the
them.
necromancer I can understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there is the group that they were showing you in the demo was the necromancer clan, so their head dude can bring people back to life.
Rogue.
Yeah.
Yep. So.
All right, so from losing heads to losing assholes. Fractured Butthole, South Park. Are you the only one, Snoogs, that played that?
No.
Great.
You did. Oh, yes. I remember you saying. Did you play it too, Ren?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, you all played it. What did you think?
Oh, it's still South Park. It's still still looks good. It looks just like it did last year.
It's more of the same.
Yeah, it's more of the same. Yeah, very disturbing. Being a
Look, if you like the first one, you'll like the second one.
yeah.
That's if you want it in a one line.
No. If you like South Park, you'll like the second one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's just it's The combat, I think, is very much like Banner Saga.
Yeah. That's my
sort of
biggest
style. Is that
issue
with the grid?
Yeah.
The way the grid's lined
the
up?
grid, yes, but,
Yes.
but no,
But
not really.
just to give an idea of that grid setup, what you've got to do.
turn-based combat.
It's still
honestly.
turn-based combat. The combat's the same as the first one. It's just tweaked or enhanced or
Yeah.
a little bit
More
I
dynamic.
found no sort of limit to how much you can move your character.
Yeah.
So you within your turn, you can kind of move your character wherever you like, within reason. But I moved around a lot just to see kind
Just see what you could do. Yeah.
see what I could do, and I could sort of lap the map kind
Yeah.
of thing. So I don't think there's any. It's kind of a put wherever you can, make you move, and then they put wherever they can and make you
their
move.
move. Yeah.
So it's kind of like Banner Saga, but Banner Saga kind of limits your movement as well as what you can do. Whereas this seems to be you've got unlimited movement. It's just you've got to think a little bit tactically because your enemy can do the same.
Yeah. But it's still plenty of South Park humour, plenty of fart jokes, plenty of go do this to get that to move along, which is the basis of the game. But really, it's an interactive South Park episode.
I'll leave that one to you guys.
Yeah, which
was
like I said,
amazing. I loved it.
there was parts where I was laughing, there was parts where I was shaking my head in disbelief because I was laughing, and it's fun. It's just good South Park fun.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the end of my list. Has anyone got any games that we haven't mentioned that you wanted to bring up, or is it
PUBG with a controller.
PUBG with a controller? Yeah, good one.
Yeah, so we know PUBG's. Well, there's been a bit more information released this week that Microsoft hasn't actually tied up an official deal with them. So Sony's apparently going after it as well.
Yeah, I believe it'll probably be a timed exclusive.
I think
probably
so.
See,
12 months.
with that, it's Microsoft does have a deal with them. They're working on extending the exclusivity of the Microsoft version to possibly mid 2018 before PS4 gets their hands on it.
Yeah, but either way, it was still running on a PC, but it was running with a controller.
From the last time I played it with a controller, which was about a month ago, the aiming was on a grid. So if you aimed up, it would go straight up. If you aimed to a diagonal, it would go up and then to the right.
Yeah.
But this time, I got hand on with it, and it felt like a
pretty
proper.
good.
It felt like a proper console setup, and because PUBG not being big in itself, like usually they'd have a person come if they had a particular build of it. It was running a build that was running on the PC currently.
Yeah.
So what we saw there is, I reckon, if we went home and plugged the controller in, that we'd be able to use it at that current point. And
I will try that.
And if that turns out like that, then good on them. They finally actually completely did that, because I know for the first time when they activated the controller support, the aiming was terrible, but it was all about control scheme and menuing that they wanted to sort out first.
Yeah, that's going to be a big issue for the PC version.
And what I played today, the menus, it took a couple of minutes to get used to, but then it felt natural.
Oh, good. All right. What else? Anything else?
Greg had a go of VR.
Yeah, so I played GT on VR, which I know you guys have played before.
I have, yeah.
Yeah. So let me preface this with, I'm a VR skeptic. I think it's a gimmick that's going to fade out like 3D gaming and everything else like that. That's me personally.
You're not alone in that, though.
But
A lot of
having
people
said
in
that, I played GT in VR and I see it has a purpose. Like, that is amazing. That I think is what VR should be, you know?
Yeah, it's great for racing games.
You have great for racing games, and this is amazingly done. Being it's the first time I've used VR, I thought the graphics were a bit grainy. It felt like I was playing GT3, but look, it is what it is. It's limited to what it can do. But looking around the game, looking down where my legs should be, and there are actual legs there, that was cool. My hands are where my hands are. It's looking around. It feels solid. And
Did you get the sensation of movement?
Totally. I was I was pelting along, and I came over a crest, and I lost my stomach as I went over it.
Yeah,
it was
it's amazing, isn't it?
It was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, I kind of went, I'm not sure how many more times I can take that. But I got through the 2 laps, and like cornering is the same thing. You feel like you're being thrown sideways.
Being that, you know, you and I are very much the same when it comes to being rev heads. Once you've got that sensation of going into a corner, did you start throwing it in? Because it did have...
Totally. I'm going to say this changes how you play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've played with, like, it was a full setup. You're sitting in, you've got your steering wheel and your shifters and all that jazz. And I've played that when you're looking at it on TV. But there's this disconnect where when you turn, it's just that there's something about it that's not quite connected right. It's whether it's just a split second of lag or whatever, it just takes you out of it, no matter how close the TV is. But with this,
probably normally that when you're driving, you're not staring straight ahead when you're going around a corner.
Yeah,
you're
that's
looking
right.
into the corner.
You are looking into the corner.
VR gives you that ability.
Yep, and you know, and shifting feels solid, even though I worked out 1 lap in that they had an automatic. I didn't
Shifting for nothing.
because I was just like, hang on, man, that shift lag's really bad, and then all of a sudden it blipped up, and I'm like, I didn't do that. Oh, okay, I see what's going on. So, but
Please.
look, for racing games, I'm kind of converted, but I still think that because everything else is kind of a bit kitschy, it's still going to fall over. So, but like I said, I can't fault GT. It was an amazing experience.
That's the general consensus of anyone. If it's the first time using VR and you're playing a racing game, it's going to blow you away.
Oh yeah,
that's definitely one of its primary features is getting you into the actual cockpit of a car.
Yep.
It's amazing.
And it's amazing. Yeah, that's all I could use. Amazing.
So who's putting their hand up for Red Bull racing planes, huh? That's some vomit fuel for you.
Yeah, I'll put my hand up so long as you give me some bath bags.
Yeah, we'll just hang a bucket in front of you.
All right, anything else?
Well, no one else got to see the God of War little feature.
No, you watched the trailer.
You and I did.
Yes.
So I was getting to that.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
So we ended up going and we got a bit of a special preview of that. There was no one else around, so one of the good people from Sony went, hold on a sec, I'll go and find someone else to throw in there with you. And we'll go in and we watched a video of it. So it was a 6-minute video with a commentary by one of the lead designers. Can't remember his name, but it goes through just sort of the build up and what Kratos is doing and why he's got this different outlook now and what he's doing to try and teach his son. So it sort of it shows off that the son doesn't know about Kratos' past, and so he's sort of the bit that we saw was him finding out little bits of it, and
Kratos really sort of pining over actually how much to tell his son.
Yeah, and he's sort of struggling with those demons and how much he wants to let on, and also how he can teach his son to survive in this world. So there seems to be a bit of a change from, you know, those big set pieces of the old God of Wars where Kratos fights this mammoth beast that's, you know, a titan really, that's this moving mountain sort of thing, where you're fighting more, you don't know if it's a boss or a generic character or just a stronger character. You're sort of fighting your way through this world. And there's other elements too where certain things will speak in a different language that you don't know, but when you speak to them later on, you start to pick up more of it, you start to learn it throughout the game. So it's actually looking to be quite in depth and very much cool. And I am going to throw a prediction out. I have a feeling, just with certain things that we saw, that the chains might make an appearance.
The old chains of Olympus.
So being that it's Greek and not Roman?
Norse.
Sorry, it's Norse.
Norse, not Greek.
Yeah. Norse, not Greek.
Yeah.
So Norse, not Greek now. There might be a different sort of thing, but I feel as though he's going to have the blades back at some point.
Yeah. Another thing is that you're controlling both characters as well during combat.
Really?
So there's he showed us a particular combat scene where Kratos throws his son into the air, and he's then starts hacking up this big dude, and the son lands on his shoulders, and then all of a sudden the son stabs this thing in the head, and he goes, "I did that with a button press. I picked the time when he stabbed him in the head,
right,
while also controlling Kratos." So I'm going to assume there's some
there was another thing that was really
interesting
cool too,
controlling
where
around that.
the kid got thrown off someone, and as Kratos goes in and does the big hack, the kid's got you push another button and an aiming thing comes up. You aim for the head, and he uses his bow. So it's you're using those two characters. So, but
cool.
Seems to be with the kid, it's very much like a one button.
A support.
Yeah,
Like
I think it's
support.
going to be like a quick time, maybe a quick time thing or something like that.
Yeah. So, but it seems
it'll-
to be that they interact really well and
Just
and
an
play off
added
each other.
dynamic that
Yeah.
would really be welcome. Like
Yeah,
nobody's really done that
Yeah.
at all.
No,
Everybody's
it's-
been like, you can command the such and such to do a certain thing, but never in the heat of battle are you able to dynamically choose what happens when it happens.
Yeah.
And Kratos looks phenomenal.
It's a beautiful game.
It's
Like,
a stunning game. He looks weathered. He has
looks
aged.
old and tired.
Yeah, and he's done. He's had enough
He's
of.
the grumpy old man that
Yeah.
you see down the end of the street.
Yeah. And
Get off my lawn.
the interaction.
Yeah.
The interaction
Cut your
between
head
the two of them, we got to see some motion capture stuff as well,
Yeah.
and it seems as though that the two guys, which was I can't remember the kid's name, Michael something or other, Tilk,
Yeah.
and the kids seem to have built their relationship really well to work off each other. So
Yep.
I think we're in for something a bit special there.
nice. I'm definitely looking
I
forward to that
can't
one.
help
Sounds
but
good.
think that like every second dialogue piece is going to be indeed.
All right, well, I guess that should cover everything. Are we safe to finish up now?
I think so.
You right, Greg?
Yeah, I'm just busting to try and think of anything left over, but I
Yeah,
think you're right.
We played Killer Instinct.
Oh yeah, we
against
got
each other on.
Yep, we
on
beat
the
each other
1X.
up on that.
Oh, we didn't
Which
even
was-
mention the 1X. Oh, well.
There was a
I
bunch
played
of
We can
Forza
talk
on the
about that
1X. One thing I'm going to put out there: if you go to an expo or anything really, and you get put in a cockpit to play a racing game, change it to the friggin' cockpit view.
Well, you don't like
will
chase
get-
cam?
You will get so much more out of it. Yes, you go to one of these things, and every possible assist is on.
Yes.
You pretty much could just put it flat stick to the floor and just drive around the track like Miss Daisy. But do it from the cockpit view, please. You are missing out. So many people are sitting there going, "Oh yeah, it's okay." No, you're missing out. You've
Well,
really got
I
to
watched
get in.
one kid turn off every assist and then play from third person, and it took him 15 minutes to do 2 laps on the 2-minute track.
Yeah, like
I'm like, what are you doing?
a lot of people seem to be going down this track of racing from the chase cam.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it. I like to when I'm playing a racing game, I want to be, and especially now that you've got the steering wheel set up, I want to be in it. I want to be the one racing the car.
Definitely.
I think if you're going to go and play one of these racing games, especially like GT Sport, Project Cars, or Forza, where they're a sim-based game,
Yes.
you've got to put yourself into that sim moment. You've got to be in the car. If you want to go and play Chase Cam, piss off, play Need for Speed.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Righto.
Chase cams for like drifting and things like that, not Sims.
But even then, even when you're playing the Sims, when you can jump in there, and at Forza you can do drifting and whatnot, it is so much more fun being in the car. You get that sensation that you're actually doing it. You're in there doing it. You're not just watching the Channel 10 coverage.
You do really feel when you're starting to lose that
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the car and it starts to slide out from under you, and you sit there and go, okay, I'm losing it. But in a chase cam, it's like, oh yeah, no, I've still got it. But really,
and then you lost it by about 10 degrees, but you're like, I'm still good.
Yeah, then you're questioning why it's spun out.
Sideways. I'm still good. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I think Snoogs has been hanging out with me too long, getting angry about shit like that.
Maybe it's
normally a rant I go off on.
But it's one of those things. Racing games are my core level of enjoyment. Because one, as a younger person, I did stupid shit in a car that I wouldn't even think of doing these days. Two, it cost me too much to do that shit these days.
I still do that shit.
Well, yeah, sure. But
you didn't hear that.
No.
I find a lot of people are missing out just due to the fact that they're playing with these assists turned on and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
like,
when you go on Expo, the assists are always going to be on.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna go on to another 20, 30 minutes rambling on.
Just do it. Trust me, do it. Have some fun.
Other than that, the only other games there were ones that were already released or had little to no impact on anything.
Yep. Very true. But anyway, overall, I think we've all had a very good time. Indeed. We liked the fact that it was a bit of a getaway for us coming up to the Gold Coast.
Definitely.
A bit of a change. There's always good things come out of change most of the time, coming from Sydney to the Gold Coast, and I welcome it. But you said it best. I think it'd be good if it was an alternating thing, Sydney and the Gold Coast. But anyway, one last thing as well. I wanted to say a big shout out to some community members that we actually got to meet in person. Hell's Ghetto was one that Hell's Ghetto was on our podcast last week as a special guest. Got to meet him, shake his hand in person, which was really good. He's a really cool guy. Also, we got to say hello to Tom Taylor and Jack Stibbard. So that was good of them to make themselves known and say hi. Who was the other one?
Mitchell.
Mitchell? Did you see Mitchell?
I didn't get his last name.
Hey, Mitch.
Guy who worked as an EB employee, helping people.
Oh, right. Okay.
He was putting us through the line and stuff to go through the store and that. And he had a chat to me and he had a chat to Snoogs.
Yeah.
Good on you, Mitch.
He loves that stuff, so.
Nice. All right, well, it's been a fantastic experience, but the last thing we need to mention, last week's podcast, we talked about the Gerald incident that Snoogs abused for very good reasons, and we got I'm not even going to look at whether or not we got the 50. That didn't happen. We definitely got the 15. Gerald's posted on the pin post, which means I need to jump into a swimming pool or some sort of body of water fully clothed. So that's something we're about to do now. So we're going to end the show with that. You'll have the audio in this, and you'll be able to see the video over on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel. So go and check that out. But that's the end of the podcast, so enjoy that. I am Lucas.
I'm Gridger.
I'm Reprimir.
I'm Ramutha.
And I'm Snoogs.
How good and easy is that to do when we're in the same room?
It's brilliant.
And we can point.
There's no awkward sounds. And then we all say it at once, and you're just like, start again.
Welcome everyone, and here we are for the Gerald jump.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Anytime, mate.
Yeah, fully clothed.
We're all done up.
I was going
done up.
to put my jeans back on, but you said not to worry.
No, don't worry about that. Jeans will take longer to dry because you're not bringing smelly, wet shit in my car.
I got me socks. I've left me socks on.
Are you looking forward to it? It's been a hot day, mate. You should be enjoying the thought.
It is hot, so I don't care.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm just glad that we didn't count the 50.
Oh, thank God for that. I think I'm glad for that too.
And I didn't have to do it nude.
Yeah.
All right.
So look, we've got some friends in there already.
Rep reckons the temperature's just right.
It's good.
Just good to get in there. That's all right.
I know. I'd like to get in maybe some swimmers and not my clothing.
Any final words?
Well, are there any requests on how I jump?
Like backwards, just like.
Yeah, I think you should just fall in, maybe.
Just fall in backwards. Just sacrifice yourself. Fall on your sword.
That might hurt.
Last check though.
Like a reverse.
Is everything out of pockets.
That's really scary.
It's like a reverse. What's it called?
Going backwards.
The reverse
Leap of faith. Look, reverse leap of faith.
Here you go. Turn around, and look at me,
Alright, Aussie.
and then we can go. This is Sparta.
It's actually really scary to do.
You'll be right.
Just,
come on.
Just come on.
Can I go? I'll go front ways. Would you like me to go
Look,
backwards
dealer's
first?
choice.
Dealer's choice.
We didn't specify, so dealer's
All
choice.
right, all right.
I
Step
am
backwards.
Lucas, and this is the
Oh,
Durham
here we go. Reverse leap of faith. Here it
That's
comes.
the deep end, right?
Yeah. Totally.
You're fine.
No diving.
You'll be right.
You're not diving. Lucas. Oh, it's going to be a back slap.
No, you put
You've got
your ass
clothes
in
on. You'll be
first.
right.
That's natural. Would you like some help?
Don't take my phone out of my pocket.
Yes, it's in mine.
Oh, well, that was great.
How do you feel?
Cold in here.
I have 2 extra lumps in my throat.
Oh, there's the ground. And maybe a minute she did my bed.
Sorry, I had to do that quick because I didn't want you grabbing hold of me.
Coming with me. Oh.
So there you have it, guys. There's the Gerald jump.
Now, you have to think of something for Snoogs to do. And for some reason, there'll be heaps of entries into that one too.
Snoogs Cannonball.
It'll be Luke 1-1, Luke 1-2, Luke 1-3. I better not give away my secrets because you'll make secret special conditions. Oh, stop it.
Let's start programming the spam bot.
Alright, so I want ideas, and if I don't get any good ideas, I'll make it up myself, and that's not going to be good for anybody. So, we'll work out something for Snoogs to do in a future episode. Thanks, everyone. Well, here we are once again at the end of this week's show. If you're still hungry for more video game content, head over to the Aussie Gamers Express Facebook page and give us a like. We also have a heavy presence over on Twitter, so give @AussieGamers12 a follow, and also our YouTube channel is there waiting for you to give it the love that it deserves. This podcast is available for your convenience through iTunes, Stitcher, and TuneIn Radio. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you all on the next episode of the Aussie Gamers Express Video Game Podcast.